So yeah, my name's Conroy. I'm the Cyber Protect Officer for Dorset Police. My role is basically to come around to businesses, community groups, charities, schools, any organisation, and talk about cybercrime. Most importantly, what to look out for and how to stay safe from cybercrime, because it is one of those areas that gets a bit sort of doom and gloom if you look at how big the problem is and what's going on, and sometimes I think people feel a bit powerless to fight against it. The reality is there's some really simple things you can do, and there's a lot of help out there and resources that you can tap into as well. One of the parts of the brief I was given was to talk about AI and discuss whether or not people are right to be sort of concerned or afraid of it. And that's what I'm going to focus on mainly. Obviously I usually talk around different crime types, but the bit about AI is going to feed into one of the more prevalent things that we see, and then it's all just going to hopefully work. So if we start going, I always ask this one, does anyone recognise that guy or think they recognise this face?
Recognise his face, but I don't know.
Nobody? This guy doesn't exist. That's a photo, isn't really a photo at all. It's a computer generated image, obviously generated by AI. And that's really rude, I'm sorry. I did get enthusiastic and I pointed and clicked, which was a bit too flashy. Generated using AI, specifically a tool called a Generative Adversarial Network, or GAN. Capable of creating very convincing images, and they're so cool because of how they operate. Just so I know, in case anyone does take me to task on anything I'm saying at the moment, it's quite a busy room. Is anyone here particularly switched on when it comes to tech, AI, stuff like that? One guy. I'm not going to look at you when it comes to question time, but we'll move on to the next slide, and we'll talk briefly about what a GAN is, how a GAN works, and why they're so good at what they do. So a GAN, Generative Adversarial Network, in its simplest form is basically two computers or two networks of computers, and they're fighting against each other. One is looking to generate a product and the other is looking to determine whether or not it's real. So in this case, the generator is fed a training set of images, so it's showing face after face after face, and it goes, okay, I think I know what faces look like now, I'm going to make one. So it has a go at making a face. The discriminator looks at it and goes, no, you got something wrong there, and sends it off to the discriminator again. So it looks at what was wrong, has another crack at it, and starts generating some more faces until eventually the discriminator can't tell the difference. And this happens very, very quickly. And then obviously where they are fighting against each other, they're both getting smarter, they're both looking for things that they might not have picked up on last time or things they might have forgotten last time. And the product just gets better and better and better as it goes, which is how we end up with this guy's face. Now, it isn't just pictures that generative adversarial networks can do. Documents, obviously it can fake documents, and I think probably more concerning, potentially more concerning, is this.
Generative adversarial networks can also turn photos into video and do a half-decent job of cloning someone's voice. This was created using a tool found on Google, which was trained using less than a minute of recorded speech.
Now that sounds like if I was exceptionally, which I am always exceptionally tired, I have a toddler, but that sounds like me, but tired, possibly hungover, but significantly similar to my voice. I think we probably all agree. If you just heard that, you'd probably think it was me having recorded it. I'm wearing my police badge and everything, so I can't lie to you here when I say that was literally me talking, reading a script on a website for a minute, typing in what I wanted it to say, and then it just did it. That is a photo, and that was animated through an AI tool, another AI tool. And if you're looking closely, you can see sort of artifacts around the edge of his head. But if you're doing what most people do when you're looking at a video of someone talking, looking at the eyes or the mouth, are you confident you'll be able to pick up on the fact that that wasn't real? And this is stuff that I found just by Googling. I went onto Google, looked for AI voice cloning tool, and found this, basically. It's a website called Emulate Me. You have to sort of imagine criminals who are doing this for a dedicated purpose are putting a lot of time and a lot of money into the tools that they're using, and they'll be significantly more sophisticated than this. The voice would have pitch, tone, intonation, all that sort of stuff, and the video that it can generate will be a little bit more refined, less in terms of stuff going on around the edge. Think about the applications of this. So for businesses, has anyone here ever had one of those calls, or someone tries to email, let's say, where it says, I'm your boss, just believe me, I am your boss, I need this invoice paid, do it now, like they're sort of really time pressured sort of things. Now imagine if one of those came across and it said, oh, we need this invoice paid right now, and it was immediately followed by a phone call that sounded passably like your boss saying, no, seriously, that email I just sent you, get it done now. And that's becoming more and more achievable every single day, for free. Yeah, and like I said, the paid for tools are only going to get better as well. So this here, I'm just going to talk briefly about phishing emails, because this is one of the areas where I think AI is probably more likely to start catching people out. This here is an AI generated phishing email, and it looks fairly similar to the sort of thing we'd expect to see in the average one. So the AI was given prompts around areas of concern, so you probably won't be able to read this, I can only just read it and I'm right next to it. That's probably more commentary on my eyesight than anything else. Limited advancement opportunities, so it's prompted around that. The social engineering techniques it's been told to talk about, so there's a bit of time pressure and trying to incentivize people. Marketing techniques, so it's mentioned in here about mobile optimized websites and interactive content, and then it's been given instructions around who to impersonate and how to spread this message. So it's obviously signed off as human resources operations, and it's been sent by email. This next one, it's just a human generated one. So if you had to look at that, I don't think you'd really look at it and think there's something substantially different here. This AI one looks very much the same, and probably has very similar content through it. But the sort of interesting side of it comes here, and this is the result of a study done by Cornell University. So they had a look at, basically undertook a study rather with 112 people, and they sent them a range of phishing emails. Now, generic phishing emails are sort of carbon copy ones we all get day in, day out. They sent those out and they had a 19% click-through rate. Not necessarily success rate, but 19% of people clicked on that to go through to the next part of this sort of process. They let these AI systems have a go at writing one of it. This basically a study involved 4 separate AI models, and they all had a go at creating their own phishing emails. They were sufficiently convincing to up that click-through rate to 30%. When people had a look at the content that the AI systems had generated and made tweaks to it just to make sure it definitely seemed about right, that went up to 60%. And the interesting bit is right down the bottom. So we've got AI generated emails where that system has been told, right, go off to a company's website, find out what you can, learn about the CEO, learn about how the company works, what do they do, where they're based, all that sort of stuff. So when the AI went off and did its own intelligence gathering, those emails went up to 66% effectiveness, which is exactly the same as the human generated ones with human generated intelligence. Now, that kind of goes to show that they're not more effective. The threat isn't exactly through the roof with AI generated phishing emails, but the real difference comes with this. So this is the timescales of actually getting these things done and delivered. So to send generic phishing emails to 112 people took the team 15 minutes. For the AI system to do it more effectively, took a third of the time. AI generated and human modified was just over 2 hours. This bit here, the much more effective phishing emails, for human generated intelligence, human generated phishing emails, we're talking just under 10 hours. That's right, yeah, 10 hours to get emails to 112 people, whereas the computers could do it in a quarter of an hour. So we're not going to see these emails get significantly more effective on their own, but what we are going to see is a huge increase in the rate at which people are receiving them. And these tools are readily available to everybody. So what it basically means is the people that are sat there sending your dodgy phishing emails with a bad spelling, bad grammar, because that's what they've got at their disposal, they will very soon have access to tools like this that make their campaign significantly more effective too. So as long as you know what you're looking for in these phishing emails, you're going to spot them an awful lot more in the coming sort of months and years, but they're not going to be any more effective as long as you know what to look for. So we'll move on to the next slide. No, hang on, the next slide. There we go, I forgot about that one in the middle, which is basically just what I said, because I forgot it was there. This is obviously a fake example of a phishing email. And there are things that AI can't get around. So the mechanism by which, through which the internet works, really, there are certain things that it isn't able to say, right, we'll change this and it'll be more convincing. It's always going to have to point you towards a website. And within emails, you can disguise the website you're sending people to, but you can't change it. I've lost myself. We'll go through this and we'll figure out what I'm actually trying to say. So some of the telltale signs of phishing emails, the things we see on all the common ones, your average ones that are just generic and sent out. Greetings like sir, madam, dear valued customer, stuff like that. If you get an email that's something really broad, really vague, that's always going to be a big giveaway that what you're dealing with is probably a scam. Because if it's a company you deal with regularly, someone who's a supplier, a customer, something like that, they're going to greet you properly, they're going to use your name. Request for personal information. There's always going to be a hook to these phishing emails, and it's usually going to be something that's either trying to get you to give up information, trying to scare you into taking some form of action, trying to fill you with some sense of joy, making you think you want some sort of prize. There will always have to be that social engineering hook in there too. So if we get something that has this slightly unrealistic twist to it, then that's always going to be a bit of a red flag as well. Buttons with hyperlinks to unfamiliar pages. So if we have something there that says, click here, do this, that sort of thing that draws your attention to it, again, always going to be a bit of a red flag. I'm going to jump over to this bit, hovering your mouse to reveal misleading link, URL hyperlinks rather. This is one of those things that we see in phishing emails that just can't be got around really. No matter how good an AI system is, it's always going to try to disguise that hyperlink, but you'll always be able to see where it's really going. So just out of curiosity, quick show of hands, who knows, you're hovering your mouse over a link or a button in a website or an email, pops up a little link showing you where it's really going, doesn't it? So it can say whatever it wants in this bit here, the underlined bit in blue. If that were to say, head here, royalmail.com or whatever, hovering your mouse over that would show you in this little box. It could pop up there, could pop up in the bottom corner of the screen. That's going to show you where it's really going. Because that cannot be changed. There's nothing you can do to really disguise that aside from turning it into a hyperlink, but that's thwarted by hovering your mouse. Unsolicited attachments, there's always going to be, if it's not a simple phishing attempt where they're trying to get you to pass over credentials, let's say it's something where they're trying to deliver malware, it will always have to have some sort of payload there, so it's either going to be in the form of an attachment or one of these links. It'll be a bit dodgy. And then, this is probably the only real change that we'll see. Spelling mistakes and grammar. Now this is something that we always used to recommend people have a look out for in phishing emails, and it's still good advice, they're worth keeping an eye out for, but we're going to see that proportionally many more of them are going to be very well done, very well spelled, very well laid out, and the spelling and mistakes and dodgy grammar are probably going to fall by the wayside a little bit. Just quickly before I move on, interestingly with those spelling mistakes and grammar, spelling and grammar mistakes rather, how ironic, that isn't actually something that's done, or accidental rather, they're not mistakes per se. It's another mechanism that we find cyber criminals use. So they'll send out these emails en masse, so let's say 1,000 people, and they'll have spelling mistakes, punctuation, all that sort of stuff is slightly wrong. The reason they do that is they know, 999 of that 1,000 people will probably go, no, they got a spelling mistake. All they need is that one person, that 0.1%, to not see that mistake and go through. So they use these spelling mistakes really as a means to filter out people that are switched on, so they can focus on the potentially more vulnerable people, the people that aren't able to spot those mistakes, because they know that's where the money's to be made. So they're not mistakes, it's just a really horrible, horrible tool that they use to victimise people even further. And like I say, that's probably going to become less of a factor, still very much a factor, but everything's going to get that little bit smarter, basically. Ooh. So in terms of what we can do, like I said, I don't want it to be all doom and gloom. I want to make sure people know where they can go to get help. And there are loads of resources out there available from the National Cyber Security Centre. We've got the Cyber Resilience Centre for the Southwest. Has anybody heard of the Cyber Resilience Centre? Not great. No, the fact you haven't heard of them isn't great, they are, so I should have said that. So this is something that's relatively recently launched. It's a Home Office funded, police-led, not-for-profit organisation that can basically put you in touch with organisations that can help you with your cyber security. So they'll walk you through some of the basics that you can be doing to bolster your own defences, and if you get to the point where you think, oh, we need firewalls, we need a VPN, we need XYZ, instead of them saying, yes you do, go find one, they say, yes you do, and here are some approved vendors that we can probably put you in touch with. So it makes it less of a wild west for finding that information. Then, that's it. That's the end of my ramble. Yeah. Thank you.